When I chose the theme of smoke and mirrors, I had no idea what to do with it. Raised across 3 continents, Brittani Sonnenberg is a freelance journalist and creative writer based in Austin, Texas. Her work has appeared in the O. Henry Prize Stories, Ploughshares, The Guardian, NPR, and elsewhere. Her novel, Home Leave, Grand Central Publishing 2014, was selected as a New York Times Editor's Choice. She serves as a visiting lecturer and thesis advisor for Hong Kong University's MFA program. Please welcome Brittani Sonnenberg.
Thank you so much, Allison, for that intro and for bringing us all together. And thank you to Malvern Books for having us here, and to my fellow readers and performers, Domingo, Kendra, and Steve. And yeah, I'm going to do a kind of sneaky thing and read some poetry tonight, because so the novel that Allison mentioned, Home Leave, is about growing up across the world. And so the stuff I've been working on lately involves sort of genre travel, from fiction to poetry, and the journey of leaving a marriage and a country behind. But I still have a strong fiction accent, which I'm unapologetic about. Yeah, and it was so cool to be given a theme for this. So with Smoke and Mirrors, I kind of went with the shadowy and the mysterious, the truth obscured, and like Domingo, I threw in some questionable decision making. Night Walk, MTV. Sorry, I'm gonna. Ladies, if you're sick of power yoga and bar and Zumba, and let's be honest, we all are a little, may I tempt you with another sport, one that I invented last night, soon to become the latest craze. It's a satisfying blend of walking, dancing, listening to loud music, and lip syncing, singing optional. All it requires is headphones, darkened streets, and 2 generous glasses of wine at dinner. I came home from eating out with Anina feeling restless, and Adina was in bed sick. I considered packing for Scotland, but I needed to move, to charge through something, so I took to the streets, which I did not do after Trump's election. Sorry, other women. Then I pressed play. If you made up dances in your yard as a kid, or watched a lot of music videos, you'll be a natural at Nightwalk MTV. Feel free to spin down the street or break into a run if that fits the song. Throw a lot of imploring glances at the imaginary camera, belting lyrics silently or super loud into your imaginary microphone. During guitar solos, you can bust out vintage 8-year-old moves, try to jump and touch branches overhead, punt stones into gutters. Maybe stop dancing when a battered white van drives slowly past you. Then start up again after it parks, and an anticlimactic couple step out and head inside their anticlimactic mid-century house. Crossing Lamar, smile at the teen on the corner, the one with the peroxide blonde pixie cut. 1 block later, see a guy with a red bandana and know somehow that he's bound for that pixie. Turn around to witness their embrace. A few streets from your house, skip over the song that you listened to a lot when your marriage was falling apart, when you were beginning that affair. I didn't skip over the song last night, and it was a major mistake. This sport requires jaunty, freeing numbers, not melancholy riptides. Funny how I've never been able to decide whether or not the affair was something like the song that I should have just skipped. It's the only regret of my life, said a woman on the radio yesterday, discussing her extramarital dalliance. Well, of course, mine was a mistake too, as was, arguably, getting married. But both were powerful, illuminating errors, each with their own pockets of joy, abandon, deep connection, what we all want, what we're all after, whether or not we're dancing slightly drunk through our neighborhoods at 11. Anyways, point is, y'all, this workout is where it's at. You go to bed really tired, and when you wake up the next morning, your limbs feel stretched, and you're hungrier for breakfast than you can ever remember being. Scared of love. I'm scared of love. Not love, but Love, the new TV show. A friend recommended it last week. She said it was my kind of show, but I don't want to start the pilot and have it remind me of my life. Or on the other hand, feel like it's stupidly contrived. I don't want to see a desperate woman on screen or a happy couple kissing. I don't want to watch it for 45 minutes, then look around my living room and feel more empty. Or turn it on for 5 minutes, then turn it off and not know what to do with myself. If I knew the show was warm and hilarious and profound and feminist and moving and honest and self-aware and daring, then I might watch it. Wait, maybe I am talking about love. Fine, you got me. I'm scared of that too. I went on a real Poirot kick, like the BBC David Suchet shit. It is good.
Hear, hear.
So 3 poems dedicated to Poirot. Poirot 1. I'm crazy about Poirot, his delicate mustache, the way he folds his napkin, how he gathers everyone in the parlor and thunders at them, painting their murderous motives while they sip tea or sherry, feign shock. But what I like best is his exquisite aloneness, how he dances from passion, solving heinous murders, to pleasure, stewing duck or eating bonbons, stoutly cocooned in his woolen waistcoat, shielded by his mustache and Belgian accent and impeccable manners. He is feminine and fussy, often laughable, in the dignity he bestows and insists upon himself, but his actions spring from conviction, listening, fascination. He never falls in love. Well, twice. Once with a Belgian heiress, once with a jewel thief. Of course, there's a neatness to it all and caricature, but Poirot, like Holmes, is very human in his silliness, his genius and ineptitude, his blind spots. I watch it for the joy of puzzle solving, but also to witness his deep kindness, how love leaks out of us, even when all we have is 2 friends, a perfectly appointed apartment, millions of little gray cells, and memories of adoration in other languages. Poirot 2. Somewhere around the show's 6th season, I realized that my ex-husband shares many of Hercule Poirot's quirks, to wit, an obsession with clean, polished shoes, a love of cooking, fustiness about well-pressed coats, a thing for long-distance trains, an exile's homesickness, an affection for the formal gesture, and a good handwritten note. Poirot's signature is, of course, his exhaustively groomed mustache. My ex-husband longed to grow one, the way other men want to watch sports all day long. I came back from the trip and it was on his face. I insisted he remove it. He was kind enough to do so. I hope he has one now, waxed like Poirot's, and that he is solving crimes all over Kreuzberg and receiving large checks from grateful widows. Poirot 3. Poirot would never do such a thing. Say he'd let you know, then never let you know, whether or not he could come to the show. Poirot would have sent a letter, or Miss Lemon. Even if the murderer had captured him, he'd still somehow communicate that he couldn't make it tonight, given his kidnapped status, but maybe next Tuesday would work. Surely he'd be untied and out of the basement by then. I keep trying to woo uncouth con men, too fixed on their heist to bother writing me back. What I need is a kind Belgian detective, someone whose manners are not about hiding or fooling, but connecting, like pouring a stranger a cup of tea, gazing at them through the steam, asking whether they take sugar or cream. La Bionda. Remember the restaurant on the corner? Oh, of course you do. You're still there. La Bionda, an Italian place. Not Italian, the way restaurants often are in America, either horrible and Pizza Hut-ish, or trying to strike the perfect Tuscan pose, expensive and amuse-bouche. La Bionda is, for you, staffed by artsy nihilists on the run from Berlusconi. The owner had another place in town, the Golden Hen, which was a little fancier, the stage of our first terrible fight. But that's another story. I want to summon Bionda now. Its black and white tiles, wine-colored walls, the turntables, where one of the nihilists, did we call him DJ? No, der Musiker, played records. They always sounded just right, at least to my nostalgic ear this morning, thousands of miles away. It didn't matter if we'd been fighting all day, or if that night after dinner turned into another war. Bionda was magically where we lay down our weapons, broke bread, and drank wine. You loved talking to everyone there. It called forth your childhood village in Romania. One night at home, when we needed parsley for pasta, you ran to the restaurant and asked for it, instead of walking to the market, 2 doors down. You always joked with the waiters. We had nicknames for them that I can't remember now. I was too shy to say much, but I loved your ease, loved walking in with you, sitting across from you, choosing our pleasure. The food was always incredible. Sage ravioli and butter, swordfish with capers, hauntingly simple aglio olio, pizzas like a kiss. That was our problem, or one of them, me in the bedroom, my lack of desire. But at Bionda we were both hungry and happy. We knew we would be well-fed and sated. And they loved us too, did they not? You could feel it, the warmth of their approval. If we could have just stayed at one of Bionda's tables our whole marriage, we never would have broken up. We were our best selves there, and true somehow too, it was the tangent line between us. We loved it back, loved them, and their art of making something good and theirs. We ate the low lighting, the hedonic, indulgent mood. We ate there much more than we should have. It wasn't cheap, but neither is love. Ours cost us too much. And of course we couldn't stay at Bionda overnight. What were we gonna do? Sleep in the kitchen? Use the chopping blocks for pillows? Maybe making love would have come easier there. We were on the chopping block too. I wonder if they knew before we did. I never went back there after I left you. Leaving you meant leaving them too. I briefly waitressed at an Italian place here in Austin, thinking it might feel like Bionda from the other side. It just felt like getting everything wrong, which is often how you and I made each other feel outside Bionda's Primitivo walls. I imagine you're often there with your girlfriend now, the one you started dating 3 months after I left. That's how ready you were for someone else. Well, I can't talk. I had that affair. I don't go to exquisite neighborhood restaurants with a husband here, but there is a coffee shop 10 minutes away that is gorgeous and the food is perfect, and I am there nearly every day, alone. Because I'm not like you, I don't chat with the baristas. I'm still shy. But they bring over my macchiato and smile at me with the warmth of familiar strangers. It's a home of sorts, the way Bionda was our better home, while you were my better half. And I'm sorry I couldn't summon that me more often once we'd left. The one that leaned in and listened to you, took deep sips of wine and grinned, shared fresh pasta, grabbed your hand on the way out. And even if our Bionda selves weren't sustainable, I'm glad we had them, just as there are many reasons through those volatile years that I'm glad I had you. A boy from Hammersdorf, a girl born in Hamburg, we shared a strange communion, and for the length of dinner at Bionda at least, and the brief blaze of ouzo after, it was all we needed, and we walked home happy. Up in our apartment, you could see the restaurant sign on the corner, but its faint glow was too far away to help. And on that second floor, more often than not, the bel étage, we shed our Bionda souls like cloying coats and descended into hell. Reverse spell. And do I do, and do I did, and do I'm done. Undo your dress, undo your laces, undo your stays. Undissolve, unknow, uncare, untry, unprove. Unimpress, unimprove, unvest, unbe, unbecome. Unappeal, untoward, unaccept, unwind, unamaze, unabashed, unablaze, unibomb. Then what? Then rest. Undone. Separation. When I said I wanted to separate, I didn't mean from everything, but that's how it happened. It became a game of long division, of rapidly dividing selves, rapidly dividing selves. I stood on one side of the river, you on the other. Friends would swim back and forth or just pick whichever bank they liked better. Your mother suddenly appeared on my side one day, holding out a baggy bathing suit. I shoved her in the current and ran to the woods. When I came out, I saw that my mother was on your side too. You were picnicking together. "Hey," I yelled, "wrong side." But my voice didn't carry over the roar of the river, and it's true that I hadn't invited her to a picnic. At some point, the separating grew addictive. I separated from wearing makeup, from dresses, from smiling. "Really?" Renata said when I told her. "Isn't that a little limiting?" I separated from Germany, from Berlin, from the lakes I loved, from the home I built for 7 years with my bare tongue and a billion hours of Deutschkurs. I separated from friends when I perceived the slightest slight. "Really?" Renata said again. I never separated from Renata, thank God. I never knew divorce could make you such a separate thing, a severed being. That's what's different from breaking up with a boyfriend. At least it was for me. You separate from who you trusted yourself to be. You eschew staying true for something more shifting, the truth. And every one of your loved ones who saw you at the altar can see that you lied and failed and fucked up and faltered and didn't do what you promised you would. 15 years ago, when my mother, who loves Jung, went to grad school and began throwing around words like individuate, I thought she was getting individualized wrong. Turns out I had to spurn almost everything, then slowly, gingerly, invite certain loves back in. An album, a parent, a lipstick shade, before I could begin to understand what individuate actually meant. Repatriation. The first time I met with my divorce lawyer in Berlin, she asked how long I'd been married, and when I said, 2 years, she threw back her head and laughed, and then collected herself and said, "That's it?" There were a lot of days like that in Germany, so I left. Okay, this is the last one. Praise and lamentation. I meant this morning to write a lamentation of my lost marriage, to abandon the forced cheer of what's better now, how far I've come, and sit down with what sucks, what I truly lost. But I awoke to a blue-smeared sky after a day and night bullied by hard driving rain, and since my heart is only full of praise now, perhaps that's the way to go. So, I praise my lost marriage. I praise our long talks. I praise the catchphrases, the language we invented that still surfaces in my head, and there's no one to say it to. I praise your cooking, Georg, and how you cooked for me. I praise our meals and that beautiful farmhouse table you designed and the bench you brought back from Romania. I praise your patience when I wouldn't eat spice. I praise the balcony where we sat in the sun. I praise our trips to the Markthalle down the street. I praise your love of good food, which urged on my own, helped me quiet my forbidding diet. The praise pains me, it's true, even in this castle in another country, which has echoes of the manor house where we were married. Praise and lamentation. Beyond my window, small yellow wildflowers spring from sandstone, as though the old structure were a rock face near a waterfall, something God made. It's enviable, that blurring of materials, that beaten surface. I would love to praise us without lamentation, to celebrate with forgiveness, for our marriage to be a beautiful ruin, covered in lichen, returned to the wild, untended and gentle, something monks would visit in the moonlight, a painting by Caspar David Friedrich in the Alte Nationalgalerie, a shelter grown gracious in its collapse, uninhabitable. Thank you.